Most likely you've heard of ISA accounts and the amazing tax benefits they offer us UK investors. But these ISA accounts are not simply a one-glove-fits-all. In fact, in a lot of cases, ISA accounts are just plain bad for a lot of investors. Many people miss out the whole story when it comes to investing via an ISA account. And after several months, a lot of investors are just scratching their head wondering why they opened one in the first place. I've been investing for nearly 20 years and I today still currently do not hold any ISA account whatsoever. So open a cold one or pour yourself a dram, as I'm going to give you 5 big disadvantages of opening an ISA account in the UK. Now very quickly, what is an ISA account? If you didn't know, the Oxford Dictionary says that an ISA account stands for Individual Savings Account. Absolutely brilliant. Simply put, it is a savings account that will allow you to invest £20,000 every single year tax-free. Well, kind of tax-free. It's a bit of a grey area and I'm going to cover that in just a minute. Many people do not know there's actually 4 different types of ISA accounts available to UK investors. There's the cash ISA, a stocks and shares ISA, the innovative ISA, and the very, very bad one, the lifetime ISA. And yeah, right now, that's a big no-no for a lot of investors. It's also worth keeping that 20 grand figure in your head for the rest of the video, because it's pretty damn important. Now let's kick this can down the road and get on to the first negative when talking about ISA accounts. And the big one is an absolute shocker. ISA accounts are just simply not entirely tax-free. It's important to note that the savings within your ISA account are still eligible to some kind of tax, just not the major ones people care about like income or capital gains tax. There's a UK stamp duty which comes in around about 0.5% of all electronic purchases of stocks and shares, and this still applies within your ISA. So if you want to buy UK stocks and shares YOLO into some legal and general, there's no way of avoiding stamp duty tax. And not only that, it gets even worse, because if you want to have investments abroad into countries such as the United States or China, you're going to have to pay withholding tax on any dividends you will receive into that ISA account. So if you're looking at a dividend stock over in the US, you're going to have to pay a potential 30% on any dividends you receive from the United States. Now, some ISA accounts will allow you to lower this 30% to 15% in terms of dividend tax, provided that you have completed a W8 Ben form, which will in turn lower your tax down to 15%. So if you are going to go ahead and open an ISA account, make sure your provider will give you a W8 Ben form so that you can lower this dividend tax down to 15%. Otherwise, you're going to be taxed 30% on all dividends you receive from non-UK stocks. Overall, you are still saving a hell of a lot of money from the taxman when you open an ISA account, provided you are buying UK stocks. But if you think the UK stock market, the UK equity market itself, is about 4% of the world's total equity value, while the US equity market is worth near 60%, most investors will just want exposure to this much bigger market, meaning you will be paying withholdings tax on any dividends you receive from the United States, as well as foreign exchange fees, also known as FX fees. Now, the FX fee will vary, but if you want to buy a stock over in the US, you need to transfer some Great British pounds over to United States dollar, because that's what the stock will be listed in. A lot of brokers charge a lot of money for these fees, and some of them will charge you 1.5% just for literally exchanging your money. So make sure you go and check out these details before you jump into any ISA account. Now, negative number 2 is you can only pay into one type of ISA each and every single year. Let's say you have 4 ISAs set up, 2 cash ISAs and 2 stocks and shares ISAs. You can only pay into 1 cash ISA and 1 stocks and shares ISA every year. This means you can put 5 grand, for example, into the cash ISA and 5 grand into a stocks and shares ISA, but you can't put anything else into the other 2 ISAs. If you do this, the government will sniff you out quicker than Kate Moss at a house party. If you do invest money into this second account, for example, a second stocks and shares ISA in the same year, you will be subject to every single tax by the book. Income, capital gains, everything. You name it, you will be taxed. Basically, you've just eliminated the whole point of setting up a ISA account in the first place, so don't do that. The negative number 3 is there is a £20,000 limit, which is a lot to majority of people, but the UK government doesn't want you to invest more than 20 grand a year into all of your ISAs across the board. That means that if, for example, you put in 5 grand into a cash ISA, you can only put 15 grand into any of your ISAs left over. It's kind of harsh. The government basically wants to limit how much tax-free allowance you get as an individual. individual. After all, they've got these brick trains to build. Not only that, if you have a lifetime ISA set up, you know, the bad one I mentioned earlier, you can only save £4,000 into that account each and every single year. And this £4,000 will still account towards the £20,000 total for all of your ISAs combined. So just be careful when you put money into any of your ISAs and keep track of how much money you've put in each year. Remember to know your limits, otherwise you're going to end up laughing like Jimmy Carr, and nobody wants that to happen. Negative number 4 is these accounts aren't actually that flexible, despite what you've heard. When you put money into a stocks and shares ISA, the account tracks the initial investment towards your 20k limit. It doesn't count any money you've withdrawn from your ISAs. So let's say you put £2,000 into a stocks and shares ISA, and a couple of weeks later you take out £1,000 to go to Magaluf with the boys. The government says the total allowance left will be 18,000, not 19,000, because you've took back 1k. So withdrawing money from your ISA accounts does still come and affect your individual limit each and every single year. Does it make sense? No, not really, but again, neither does a brick train. Now, the final big negative is the one I told you to avoid, the cash ISA. Seriously, folks, this is just really bad, especially in this market. The big positive of a cash ISA, or how it's sold, is that you can put up to £4,000 a year in, take money out, and it doesn't affect your 20,000 limit. So if you put in £4,000 and you took out £4,000, it's not going to affect your 20,000 limit. That's the whole selling point. But don't go running to the bank just yet, because like I said, these cash ISAs right now are absolutely horrid. Cash ISAs aren't anywhere near as beneficial in the long term. Interest rates right now in cash ISAs are sitting at around about 2%. And since the UK allows you to keep a certain amount of interest-free tax anyway on your personal savings, the chances are you won't need to be putting that much money into a tax-free account that's limited at £4,000 a year. If you're investing in the long term, cash ISAs are incredibly poor bang for your buck. And in the current environment, this interest rate probably won't even beat inflation. Now, don't get me wrong, ISA accounts do offer many benefits, especially when it comes to tax. For some investors, they're absolutely perfect. There's some great hidden features too, which I talk about in this video, and these features are not really covered by many people here on YouTube. So if you are interested in an ISA account, go and check out that video here. Remember, likes are free, and I'll see you in the next one.